This conference will now be recorded.
It was freaking awesome.
Glad to be back, right? Yeah.
I actually am glad to be back, but it was really worthwhile, so I learned a lot. It's great.
Good.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
So we will call to order at 9:01 AM, 9:02 AM. We're not getting fiber connect.
Well, he's supposed to be.
Um,
Theoretically, we are.
His internet's down.
Shoot him an email.
That wasn't recorded, was it?
Probably, but I kinda like it.
I think Jim's here.
I think he was gonna do remote.
Yeah.
Jim? No. Yeah, that, you did say that in your email. I will say, my body is still on the wrong scale.
Hello. I guess we'll wait for a minute or two and see. But the gist of it, as I understand it, we did milestone 2 once they hit certain,
Covered through there.
yeah, certain milestones or certain achievements, then that's when state or the grant money is released, I believe, right? That's what this is about.
Just trying to find out. Anything important happen in my absence that I might not have heard of? I give you the meeting notes.
Not that I can
Cool,
think of.
I like that.
Yeah.
That works for me. How's the new job?
Good.
It's
Well, I think that he's joining.
He's joining, so he just.
Morning.
Good morning, Adam. Thank you for joining us.
We're waiting to see you.
I'm not hearing anything.
Can you hear us?
Adam, can you hear us?
Yep, I got it. Sorry.
Okay.
Do you want to present to us milestone 3 and what we need to approve today?
Yeah, I mean, what is it is there something you'd like to know? I mean, we're now covering everything for the original agreement, which includes everything but the lower part of River Road, lower part of Corshire. There's one house up by the Terringham line on Terringham Road. There's one house that actually partially in Otis. I guess the curb cuts in Otis. Otherwise,
So other than those 9 homes in the excluded from the agreement, the rest of Monterey is
is now complete. Yep.
So Bear Town Road has coverage now?
Yes, all the way up to the state forest.
Right. That's awesome.
yeah, good news. So we should I mean, do we have paperwork to sign for you
I
for the
believe
milestone?
packet was sent over. Did Melissa get that or?
I did not get anything, Adam.
Oh, okay. I will send that over here in a minute. Were there any other questions regarding any of the work?
I don't have any questions regarding the milestone. Someone, a Fiber Connect customer asked me if is there a cancellation fee after the initial term?
After the
If you sign on for another year and you cancel 6 months in, do you get refunded the last 6 months of that agreement, or is there a cancellation fee? Someone asked me about
the
that.
agreement has a cancellation fee. That was all submitted during the initial, whatever it was, years ago. I don't remember the exact number. I want to say it was 80 or 90% of the term. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, the contract auto renews, so they can certainly cancel after the first year.
But then, once it automatically renews for a second year, if they haven't canceled and they cancel within that second year, there's a cancellation fee
Correct.
of like around 80 or 90% of the rest of the remaining term.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So once we get the paperwork for Milestone 3, I believe, we'll sign it for you.
Okay. Let me just dig it up and I'll get it over to Melissa in the next couple minutes. I apologize. I
Okay.
thought it was over already, but. Okay.
Yeah.
No other questions?
Appreciate it. I don't think so.
None for me.
Okay. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Well, that's a kind of a yay.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's good news.
Yeah.
Long
I don't know.
time.
Going 3 years.
The next item of business, we'll come back to Fiber Connect once we have the paperwork ready to sign, if we need to do anything further, but, is to appoint Chris Andrews as town clerk and Marie Ryan as assistant town clerk effective June 13th, 2023. And usually town clerk's a 1-year appointment, right? It's 3 years.
Let me just see if I can find it. I'll see if I can find it.
Well, I just thought about lining it up with the fiscal year too, or maybe it should be. It's supposed to be. We'll come back to that in a minute. So, Tree Warden, we received 2 appointment request forms, one from Kevin and one from Rick.
Okay. Okay.
Any thoughts?
I mean, Milky, I think with his experience, he says his job, the other person, Kevin West seems like, I don't think he'd lose with it.
So this is Kevin, have you met?
No, Kevin, I'm Frank.
Kevin West.
I don't know.
Is there anything else you can tell us that might not be in the application that you want us to know?
Yeah, so in the application, I sort of say what my understanding of the position is, which is that, the management and advocacy of shade trees in Monterey. And what I'd say is that having looked at also at the Massachusetts Tree Warden and Forestry Association website, there are a set of recommendations that, for sort of preferred qualifications by town size. Their smallest town size is 10,000 people, under 10,000, so they don't get to the qualifications for a town of under 1,000 people.
We're over 1,000 by slightly.
Okay, yeah.
But we're way
Excuse me,
under
I stand
10,000, so.
But as far as the sort of the qualifications as such, I mean, I'm not an arborist, right? Which is the qualification that's preferred, although not required, for under 10,000 people. And also, I don't have a degree in forestry. However, having said that, my interest in shade trees and shade tree resources is sort of longstanding. And while my sort of interest is based in kind of sort of self-taught study, it's not insignificant. And I'm also interested in participating in the kinds of qualification programs, kind of educational programs that are offered through the Tree Wardens, the Massachusetts Tree Wardens Association. And I would also say that given the town's relationship, an ongoing relationship with John Fields, as obviously a certified arborist and as someone who has a longstanding relationship with the town, that the role of tree warden in our very small town is perhaps able to serve to express the point of view of townspeople and work in collaboration with John Fields on the more kind of technical or sort of scientific issues around sort of the maintenance of tree health and sort of hazards. So I understand that there's that my qualifications may not be the same as past tree wardens, although I would be curious to know what those qualifications are for previous tree wardens. And I would say that my interest is driven more by a sort of a wish to serve the community, and also it's inspired in large part by conversations I've had with people in the community expressing opinions about sort of trees in Monterey. And I'd like to see the tree warden position, really reflect the wishes of the people, the wishes of the townspeople in the management of trees going forward. And I would see that as an important part of the role, in addition to the management and the advocacy. I think that serving as a kind of spokesperson for public opinion is also one aspect of the tree warden position that is to me meaningful, and I would enjoy working towards that.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely two good applicants, and neither are certified arborists, as is preferred for large towns, but we're a small town, so that's not a requirement. And both have experience with trees to some degree. Yeah,
I think Kevin's comments are correct, their last part of the statement that, interaction with the townspeople is a large part of what goes on. And as a voice for what's best for, what people want. I found in the past that it helps me a lot from a maintenance perspective to have somebody else that is able to speak on behalf of the town or on behalf of highway maintenance. So it's just something important to consider, on that side of it.
And there is some coordination usually between the tree warden and the highway department, right?
We typically, I've only worked with Miles, but we work very well together. Towards the end of Kevin's last term there, we had a couple of situations that we worked together on, but very little. I think that moving forward, it's important to think about, some of the bigger issues we have with emerald ash borer and things that are really gonna cost us a lot of money and already have. More frequent summer weather events have been costing us an awful lot. So, there's a lot of preventative measures that need to be considered. And, it's just kind of my 2 cents on that part,
Yes.
I know, I feel like, well, I mean, I think they both bring something to the table, and it it's great to have somebody new wanting to be involved in a very positive way. Rick has a long history with the town and has served in a number of capacities and served very well, so I'm like, not sure where that one falls. I mean, it's kind of known quantity versus new quantity, but that doesn't necessarily speak to the whole thing. It's a nice change to have two applicants and I'd like both of them. That's a new thing.
Well, I'm gonna nominate Kevin for the tree board, because we have to make a decision.
Did you make the appointment today since you didn't put the names on the
Um,
agenda?
Like Melissa emailed, it's best practice to do it next week, to put it on the agenda for next week with the name. So we will probably do that, but it doesn't prevent us from deciding who we wanna put on the agenda for next week today. I didn't know, and the same thing will come up with finance committee. Previously, sometimes when I've been on the board, we've been making an appointment like this, we will list on the agenda every candidate. But sometimes that list is long and awkward to list people who, we were not appointing 2 tree wardens or 4 people to finance committee, we're ending up appointing 1.
Right.
So this time I opted to just leave it without, but we can put it on for next week. Cause the open meeting law and the state really prefer that you list the name of any appointments on the agendas prior to making them. But if we want to agree, it sounds like you were gonna
I
nominate
was
Kevin.
gonna nominate Kevin.
Yeah, if you wanna agree to nominate Kevin, we can.
I'll second.
Okay.
For finance committee, perhaps, I mean, there's not that many applicants, perhaps we could just put the names of the applicants that we're going to discuss, so if anybody wants to come in.
Yeah.
I know we got 3, although one of them isn't actually qualified because they're not a voter.
Well, interesting, so you know John Levin.
Mhm.
So this is, I don't wanna dig too deep in the rabbit hole, but it will come up. So for right now, it sounds like we'll put Kevin on next week's agenda.
Right.
Thank you, Kevin,
Okay.
for volunteering to serve as tree warden.
Yeah.
And I've been impressed, the research that you've done, and I think you have a really good grasp on what a tree warden's responsibilities are, and I really like that you're gonna be getting a pulse for the community, what the community wants, because it's public service. And,
It makes a difference to the people. Yeah, it does. There are people who, it makes a difference that they feel heard, whatever and the final decision is whether we take a trigger or we don't.
so thank you for that.
Yeah.
We'll post on next week's agenda and formally appoint you.
Okay.
Which the appointment will be until the next election.
Understood.
So barring a special election, which is very unlikely, that would be through May, the first Tuesday after the first Saturday next May,
Understood.
so.
All right, so I'm gonna get back to work.
All
right.
Let me know if you need anything else.
Okay.
Yes,
All right, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
So as for appointments, so one time, Susan, I said we should only appoint people to elected seats who are residents and who are voters. And John Levin said, well, maybe not, because you might find someone who's really good who isn't a voter, and then they move here to serve in that term, right? Because didn't John move here
Originally.
to be on the ZBA? That's what he,
I don't recall that.
well, that's what
He
he
said-
said.
I'll talk to him. I thought he moved here to be on the ZBA, but he moved here before he was on the ZBA, as opposed to, oh, I've been appointed, I guess.
Oh, no,
consider being-
I agree, no, I don't think it was an
Right.
appointment and then
Right, yeah.
but he was making the point more generally. No, it wasn't, I don't think he claimed it was an appointment, I think he was elected to it. but I don't think he was a resident long before, and then
Right.
he became a resident of Monterey and then was elected to the
But-
seat.
And I sort of feel like if this person would like to run, he could become a voter here, and become a resident here and then run.
But
But
the
right
only,
now, I don't feel comfortable appointing somebody who's.
talk to John, I guess.
Yeah, I will.
Cause when I made the same comment, he spoke against, and I could see where he's coming from. The next item that we'll deal with is Fox Hill Road parking. So thank you for joining us again, sorry that you have to. And thank you, Brian and Jim, also for joining us. I've been thinking about it, and I was actually at an event over the weekend at the pavilion and looking at the map, and I was curious, did you get your property surveyed? No. But are there pins at all?
I believe so, we've been told there are.
Yeah.
I need to get a metal detector, actually, find one of them.
Because I think like you said, one of the complicating, I know we've had a similar problem before, and one of the complicating parts of this situation is it is a public road up until your driveway, right, like you said?
Just past, at the far end of our driveway.
At the far end of your driveway, it becomes a private road.
Right.
And one thing I didn't, just shooting stuff out there to see what makes sense, I mean, one thing I thought is we could even put up signs in advance of that, like after the fire department, after the real parking spaces behind the pavilion, that just says, this is a private road beyond this point, no parking or turning around, even though we know it technically is for 100 more feet. Just because otherwise, by the time people park past that parking lot, they're gonna wanna turn around your driveway naturally. Which
Because
is
there's no
not,
way for them to.
which
do
is
it.
not a public driveway, it's a private driveway. But I didn't know, Brian, if you had thoughts, Jim.
I think people will ignore the signs. I mean, signs, you can put up signs, but, people will just go past them and then turn around in their driveway because it's the next closest thing.
I agree with that, because as I mentioned before, there is a private property sign there and people drive right by it.
Right.
And they turn around on that portion of the lawn, or they drive down another 50 feet and do a 3-point turn on our little section back there. They just don't.
Yeah.
They don't. Even though it says you're on video and this and that, they do. I don't think they are, but anyways, they drive right
Is it-
through.
The sign is close to the telephone pole, right? Or is it where the road becomes a private road?
Yeah, it's past the blacktop. It's like right.
Could we, but could we
Blacktop.
advance it to, like I said, just the end of the parking spaces and put a sign on both sides of the road, close to the road, not set back? Because I think the
Well,
problem.
they're pretty much on the road.
Well, when I was there this weekend, I'm just thinking, if people end up parking on public land or the public road, they can park there, but they're gonna end up turning around on a private driveway. So we need to limit them from even parking on some of the space that is public, to make sure that they don't go on your driveway and lawn.
I think, however, we are punting a different question, which is, when we have events like, I don't know, the steak roast or town meeting. If it's drawing enough people, they have to park somewhere. So we can put those signs up, but the pressure to find a parking place is probably gonna weigh on them, and like, where are they gonna go? So once the parking spots are filled, cause there's clearly fewer places to park than there are people and cars. So then you have to ask, well, okay, if we don't provide them with an overflow parking area, then they're gonna park someplace they shouldn't. Like, I think you can put up all the signs you want, but unless people have a place to go, they're gonna park where, and just ignore the signs. I mean, that's my observation of people's general behavior.
Yeah.
And the question is, well, where would we direct them? We could direct them to come down here and park and walk up there. some people may be willing to do that. It's not like we have unlimited parking in here either, but it's a substantial number of spaces. Where else could we send them?
It's a tricky situation for me in a way that the fire company owns a pavilion and the land that's on.
Right.
And then Hempstead's are across the street. And Carson's beyond them. There's a small section of town property that comes out to the road from the end of the blacktop down to the pavilion parking. You know, something might be able to be done over there for a turnaround. But then that's going to attract somebody to park there. It's gonna appear as though it's a parking space. So it's a little bit double-edged. Yes, you can put the signage, you know, turnaround area, no parking, and hope that, you know, we have those in our snowplow turnaround areas, and the signage doesn't work.
Right.
You know, we'll show up there with the snowplow, and there'll be 2 or 3 people that are off cross-country skiing, and, you know, we've gotta try to get around them that way, we just deal with it. And I'm not suggesting that that's what we're doing here, you know? At the very least, you know, a sign down at the foot of the hill, no parking beyond this point on the left side of the road. You know, might help. And we can try it. You know,
I'm just thinking like realistically, where are they gonna go? You know, like I remember before they made, on the end of Fairtown, before they made that spot where you can park, it's only 2 or 3 cars long,
right,
but people park all over the place because it's a place that gets used and they're going to park somewhere.
right.
And they're either gonna park where you asked them to park, or they're gonna park somewhere else that's not so convenient.
I mean, this is a great problem to have in a way.
I
you
was
know?
just gonna say, like, at least we have people participating and engaging in events with the town, which is not a bad thing, and I wouldn't wanna discourage it. But we need to have a place for them to put their cars.
Well, and I think the absolute biggest events really aren't, and other than the Memorial Day parade, are not the biggest problem, because we're aware, and like Steak Roast, there's people out there directing parking.
Right.
It's the medium-sized events, or like AA is in there every week, but they may not be thinking.
It was quite a crowd Sunday morning.
Well, that's even not as much as usual.
Yeah, it was quite a crowd.
There's usually quite a few.
How many spaces does the pavilion actually have at the pavilion?
I wouldn't even say there's actual designated parking right there.
Right, but if people park, I mean, I've seen people when we have town meeting park, and it's quite a few cars.
Yeah.
And it's behind the pavilion.
At the
Where
end.
they park.
Yeah, at the
Sure,
end, or even along, like,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
often park, like, nose in along the pavilion.
I guessed about 8 spaces there, if they park correctly.
It really all depends, because there's a million ways to park.
Right.
Right, yeah.
People start parallel parking, and then all of a sudden you have 4 spots on the left side.
Right. And then there's the porta potty, and then there's the fence for the, you know, the back stuff
Yeah.
there.
And if you park in the back on that, you're kind of committed to being there for a long time, because 3 or 4 people.
Somebody will block you in, right?
Right.
I mean, would it make sense to ask and I'm just shooting this out there, right, this is top of my head, but I don't even know if this would help, but if there were painted lines of, like, could we increase the number of parking spots that could be well used at that parking area if they put like some paint lines down, like to suggest here, park here, park here, park here?
It's a
You
gravel
think-
surface and it won't stay.
Yeah, it's not gonna stay, sort of
Yeah.
like at the
It won't stay.
transfer station, yeah.
Well, I mean, all things considered, I think we could discuss doing a turnaround on the town land, or in the long term, doing some kind of a parking project, parking lot in the town land or something. But I really wonder if right on the road, like, not the T-posts, but those
Right.
those steel tubes, or whatever they are, that are square, just as close to the road as we can put them without destroying them. One on each side of the road.
There is no parking on the right, there's 2 signs there now.
Yeah.
One
And
right
that's
on the
what one-
corner. right on the corner down at the foot of the hill. And, one more up, almost right
Across
across
from
from your
there.
driveway.
But that's what one gentleman got out and started arguing, well, it says no parking up there, so where am I going to park? Well,
You know?
not on my lawn.
Well, are there any on the left side? Cause that's what I would do, and what I would say is, private road beyond this point, even though we know it's technically still a public road.
You don't think you'll get some backlash from doing that?
From what, for what?
For pushing the sign up? From people saying, well, that's a
Well,
town road.
but the problem is this, is technically it's a town road, but if people end up parking there, they have to turn around on a private driveway, unless they're gonna back out.
Once they get
They're-
past that parking lot, yours is the next place that they're gonna turn
And
around.
it's quite easy.
Right.
So I would just advance the signs, put them right on the road, one on the right, one on the left. Private road beyond this point, no parking or turning around. Please take notice. And I think if they're on both sides of the road, that it's a private road beyond this point.
Might at least
And-
increase it.
And just right at, because by the time people drive past the parking lot,
They're
they're already committed to turning around in your driveway.
Mhm.
So if it's right at the parking lot, they could know there. I mean, we'll still have the problem of parking and turning around. But I think would be a start.
I don't think like making like a U-turn kind of turnaround is gonna help. They're still gonna end up in our driveway.
Yeah.
It's just,
I was just suggesting
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that's, you know, a little larger than driveway size, you know, 30 or 40 feet in width, probably equal depth. It would be back into that tree line a little bit, but at least then they've got a place to turn around if they did get up in there, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, given the option of your driveway or someplace to turn around, I might choose that place.
I would,
Instead of
especially if I knew it was there.
Right.
so it's still gonna bring a lot of traffic up right in front of us
I'm just
there.
suggesting to deal with the ones that are already going there that ignore the signs, you know?
But instead of turning around, do you think if it was large enough to just go park there, nobody else can turn around?
That's a good sign.
Again, like I said earlier, if you put no parking signs there, you know, there's a chance they're gonna ignore them,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if you put no parking,
turn around there.
no parking, vehicles will be towed. I think that a lot fewer, if you put vehicles will be towed, people do pay attention, and in this town, it would take this many cars actually being towed for people to not do it,
Yeah, that's true.
right? One car, it's not like you're in a big city where nobody talks to each other.
Right.
One
Right.
person gets their car actually towed, that work will get around and people will be like, yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Duh.
I mean, I don't like that kind of situation. It just seems so,
But at least there'd be a place
Yeah.
to turn around that isn't your driveway.
right.
And, you know, a cul-de-sac kind of thingy, like, it's easy to turn around at the end of their town.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Can you take like a section down by that end of the building and just clear that a little bit and see if you can get some more?
See, there, I think they will work.
Yeah, down by the building.
Yeah, but if you have a
Expand that
turnaround
parking
further
lot.
away, they're not gonna,
Right.
they're just gonna turn around in it, they're not gonna park. If you do it close to the pavilion, they're just gonna park in it. No matter what you put.
Right.
They're getting, well, it's the town meeting, they're not gonna do it. That's my call, I mean, I don't, you know.
Right.
you
But
can
if
really-
I
there
think-
were like 5 more spaces available, they might pull in properly and not need to go up.
I just think it's very invasive, right, between clearing trees and build, yeah. So, I mean, maybe I'm naive, but I feel strongly for the cost of putting in 2 signs, as close to the road as I can, right at the parking lot. They say private road beyond this point, no parking or turning around.
I
Please
think
take
that's-
notice,
yeah.
it would be a start. And I know, me personally, by the time I get down to, you know, the other signs, it's already too late.
It's too late.
It's really, we need to stop people at the parking lot.
I agree with that.
And also, I think it's helpful to have on both sides of the roads, because if someone ends up parking in front of the other one, or it just really puts it in your mind that that's a private road.
That much harder to miss. What's the cost of putting up there?
I might even have them.
Okay.
You know, we do have some signage. we
Right.
keep in stock for replacement, so.
I mean, maybe an additional sign that does say, police take notice is
Right.
better than you will be towed.
Right.
I just think that's so,
Yeah,
like,
It's a relatively inexpensive.
yeah.
Compared to clearing a
It is,
Thursday.
Right.
yeah, to initially,
30 by
that's
30.
yeah.
Right.
something more permanent. Something more permanent, all we can do is offer up or suggest what we might be able to do on that small piece of town land that's there, you know? The rest of that land is all privately owned, even fire company land, you know? the
There's 10
townspeople-
acres back there, right?
Right, but the road frontage is very short,
Yeah.
you know, unless you're talking about, you know, maybe parking into the 10-acre parcel, you know, which you could do, but.
Right.
but we're working on long-term plans for that piece of land, so who knows what will happen with that, but there could end up being parking there, but it's not gonna happen now, no.
Okay, so we'll start with, if it works for everyone, we'll start with 2 signs that say it's a private road even before we know it all is a private road, just right at the parking lot. And then also, have you, reached out to AA by any chance? Cause I could try.
I believe somebody,
I did have Sean.
I think Sean,
Okay.
yeah, talked to them and
Cause
I think it was a light Sunday because I didn't notice, there were big spaces between most of the cars and I think there were graduations and stuff, so I think not as many people attended. But, I'm sure next week we'll be back up there again.
I mean, I know this puts a burden on you, but have you ever considered putting like some pylons out on the road? Just to prevent.
We
parking?
have not done
Just a
that.
thought, like if you're really trying to protect the lawn, most people won't choose to run them over, you know, they'll go around them. If it was my lawn, I'd probably do it.
If I'm at home.
Right,
Or
exactly.
if I know, or,
Exactly,
you know.
Exactly. It's not a perfect solution, I'm
No.
just trying to give you some options.
If that's doable with the town for us to do that, it's another way
I mean,
to
it's
help.
your land. We're not really in a position to do
Okay.
anything.
All set, and then we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can talk more, you know, as time goes on here about.
Yeah.
Something a little bit more permanent, or maybe that solves.
It
maybe that was
might.
better.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Jim and Brian.
Thanks for your help and understanding that.
Okay.
So you can move into 3 years.
Okay, fiber
Thanks,
connect.
guys.
You good?
Yeah,
Anything else,
did
Rita?
you want the other thing? Talk about that later.
Okay.
Oh, we can do the fiber connectors then.
No, the town clerk.
No.
Oh, we can do 1, 2, or 3 years.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, sorry, I thought you meant we could do items, agenda items 1, 2, or 3. Cause I know, we moved off the first 2. Do we have that? Okay, alright, then what we'll do is, so for town clerk, we can do 1, 2, or 3
So he's
years.
brand new, do we wanna do what, I mean, like, it's pretty common in a lot of things that you do a shorter contract at the beginning until someone's a known quantity.
For informational, have we always had a town clerk and an assistant?
No, we have not.
Is that because of her experience?
Yes.
Okay.
It's gonna allow, if he's on vacation or in trainings, for him to, or for her to be able to have the same.
That's a lot.
Promotions and
Okay,
awards.
all right.
We just can only have 1 actual town clerk.
That's right. So, okay.
So I would move to appoint Chris Andrews as the town clerk through June 30th, 2024.
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? We'll vote yes
Yes.
and yes, so it's unanimous. So thank you, Chris, through June 30th, 2024. And then I don't think Marie is necessarily gonna stay around as long, but we might as well make the same.
You can always step down, yeah.
So I would move to appoint Marie Ryan as assistant town clerk through June 30th, 2024.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We'll vote
Yes.
Yes.
and yes.
And I
So
think,
that's unanimous.
I don't know if you mentioned it, but Chris's appointment is supposed to be effective the 13th of June, not as of today. right?
Yes, and so both, and both of those appointments will come into effect on June 13th, 2023. Fiber Connect,
You guys just want. We all just wanna sign it and fill out the rest.
Sorry, I just wanted to actually read it.
So you did one here?
Yes.
Yes. Bye. Isn't it?
Your signature.
Okay. Today's the 6th, right?
Yes.
Okay, conversation. They have a strange cycle. Like, because of the tourists, you can get something in at 8:35. It'll be the table of tourists. And they're like, oh, good evening, tourists. Like, it's very strange. But I don't, like, theoretically, there's a siesta, but it didn't seem like anybody was, certainly the people in the farm were taking siesta. Like, we were just, and you still get up and they're there early in the morning. I'm like, come on, we're just like, give me some break here. It'd be okay if you actually were taking a 3-hour siesta in the afternoon, but.
that's a really good thing though for Fiber Connect.
I know.
I'm looking at that. But I am really surprised to hear though that it's 80 or 90% cancellation.
See,
It's a
I
very
mean, if you
strange
cancel
thing.
2 months into a
Yeah.
12-month,
You're basically paying for the 12 months.
Sure.
Better to take the 12 months and cancel the month before effectively.
yeah, I'm just surprised because I find more often than not, I guess, I don't know with utilities, but like subscriptions more often than not, they actually refund you more or less the whole rest of the term.
Well, and typically
you're
you're
fine.
paying as you go, you're not paying in advance. Anyway, right? Like you pay month by month in most subscriptions.
Yeah.
There's some like annual fees through Apple. You have
Hmm.
7 days to cancel it after you start it, and if you don't, you can't cancel it back in the rest of the year.
Gotcha.
If you go like stuff that's under Apple apps.
Right.
And I'd just be willing, Adam said, and I pulled up the
The way
Fiber
to
Connect.
get around it is change your credit card so you can't.
I pulled.
That has its own problems, so holy cow.
I pulled up the Fiber Connect contract, and I don't know where Adam was speaking to, but I just didn't know if it was something where there would be any
He referred to
room
the
for
contract.
negotiation, because someone, a resident of Monterey raised it to me, and I said, or I, just kind of found out from Adam what's going on, but, I don't know if the town has any room for negotiation, or if it's too.
You can subscribe to the 30, you can ask, we can only
Yeah.
tell you no.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's gonna look at it, if you apply it here, he's got his other areas. And I don't know how many other areas he's in.
Yeah, and he's trying to run his business, but we're, it might be a good thing to negotiate that.
Well, we could ask him, how many cancellations is he getting? Something like that.
Well, you're not gonna get any of that policy, right?
Yeah,
Sure you,
Yeah,
I
but
mean, people will be pissed off enough that, I mean, my response would be to canceled at the end of the year.
Yes.
He has to have a sense of what's happening.
I mean, what are people doing instead?
There's not great, but there's like Tesla, Starlink and which I know for some people it's worked decently well. It's like a satellite internet, but it's way better than satellite internet.
Right, I don't know.
Satellite, it was a terrible thing. It cost a
Especially if
fortune,
you-
and the speed was so slow, and there were upload and download limits that were ridiculously low.
And then there's I know there's like the cell towers, and this stuff is only getting better and better. Hotspot.
Yeah, I mean, you see about Verizon advertising, but I've never,
I wouldn't wanna try to stream something through that.
You wouldn't, maybe not now, but maybe in 5 years.
In the technology.
Think about how mobile data is improved
Yeah,
in
yeah.
5-10 years.
But they also keep increasing the amount of data required to do the same thing, right? So if the capacity gets greater, but the need also gets greater, it's a little. Anyway,
So there's no internal transfers this week, and we won't do vacation carry forward. Swap shop.
So Pat Nourse has requested to be reappointed back there.
Okay.
Jim and I are okay with that, you guys are, we just wanna make it clear to her, because it seemed to be an issue last time, she's not clear on everything.
she did before,
But she's gotta leave stuff there for people.
we need the happy medium, right? Like, it gets too crazy in there and nobody's doing, like turfing stuff that should be turfed. But previously Pat was extremely picky, so it became sparse. So somewhere in the happy medium of like, let's keep stuff that's still usable, but off stuff that isn't, and keep it like don't make it tidy to the point of getting rid of a lot of stuff that's only could use.
It seems like an art form.
It is, I think.
Who's there now? Lynn Howard. Alright, so I would move to appoint Pat Nourse as a senior tax work off abatement, swap shop, staff to the swap shack at the transfer
I'll
station.
second.
Any discussion on that? We'll vote
yes.
Yes,
and yes. But yeah, I mean, and it's good always to have people there, because I know whenever there's not people there, then they don't take anything,
and it gets kinda crazy and overrun and mess.
Unanticipated business.
Yes, it's in the mail here, but I just wanted to let you know that, Mr. Nelson has resigned. Last day will be the 19th. We did put the ad back out on Indeed, and we're gonna get going on the other one, so we can fill this as soon as possible.
I'm not gonna ask the reason now, but is there, okay. She was out there.
Nope. She wants to make one more.
Okay.
Alright, thank you. So we will, Brian will do that. Okay. Any other business, comments, questions, public, there are not, minutes. So let's start with 5/23.
I was pretty sure the dollar per
I
ride
know,
was
it's not
incorrect,
one.
but I don't remember what the number was.
Neither did I, which is why I deleted
Just deleted it. Okay.
deleted it. I don't have that document with me at the moment. I think it was in the neighborhood of 5,500 a year, right?
Yeah, it does say 5,500, but, and I don't remember, she gave us a bunch of numbers, I thought it was like 15 or something, but I don't
Yeah, well,
put
how
that
many
in.
rides, it was about 300 rides or something, then it would be about 50.
What do you make the cost of
The
the?
cost per-
average
the average
cost of
cost
the
per
ride.
ride.
Do you need the paperwork that she gave you?
Well, it depends how you counted it too, because she had to separate it out into seniors
I
and
kinda feel like let's just,
let's just
delete
remove,
it, yeah,
The gist of it was that,
5,500, because everything else is variable. We pay the 5,500 whether we,
so we just won't include, average cost, it's just the 5,500. And I'm on that subject, so if we don't spend that money on the van, they can spend it on whatever they want.
yes, that was my understanding from her during the meeting. I think that was.
I think there's still guidelines with programs and activities.
I think she said programs, but that, that's a lot of leeway. I just wonder if, like, I think it's gonna be a lot of work and you have its own flaws, trying to do the volunteer program, but it'll be good to see.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work.
I think we're both after the same thing in the under 2.
Yeah, to accomplish this year, including maintenance and repairs on the town buildings, the bylaw renumbering.
Regular second, yeah,
Second,
bylaw
Regular
renumbering,
second and
regular
town
second,
meeting.
yeah, so just delete that second bylaw.
no, but it is the bylaw renumbering bylaw.
Oh, good lord. Oh my god.
But it's with the bylaw review committee bylaw right now.
I still don't.
I think what I just thought it should be is just confirm that internal transfers would be regarding legal fees unless I agree.
Which would be regarding, that internal transfer would be.
Would be for legal fees.
Okay,
To cover, would be to cover,
okay.
right,
Cover
to cover.
with the-
We wanna change our names or mine.
Yours.
To cover legal fees. And then on the first page, we just said we're not gonna include price.
Yeah, I like that better. Yeah, it's right. Alright, looking good.
It's a funny name to have as an attorney, Lawless.
Oh, I every time I come across his name, I crack up,
Almost like a marketing ploy. Change my last name to Lawless.
I'm like.
When you want like lawful.
Yeah, maybe not, I think we should just attract a different group of clients.
Depends what kind of law you're practicing.
Okay,
Um,
are we ready?
yeah.
I move we approve the minutes of the meeting of May 23rd,
Second, and we'll vote.
as
yes.
amended,
Yes.
yes.
And we'll do last week's.
You can start with finance.
We won't approve finance.
Because of-
We'll just do,
Have you heard from Eileen? Because she didn't, last week we talked about doing meetings weekly. And there was no, I wrote her an email saying, but I never heard back.
She wrote me and said that because she wants to get together with me, and she said that her schedule got really crazy.
Okay. The only thing I had was, at the end of the meeting last week, I
Yeah.
brought up that we had to put on our to-do list, we have Melissa's contract coming up this year. It didn't get- it was at the very end of the meeting, I went back and looked at the report and we could not understand it, so.
Okay.
I had missed it.
Well, I will, and so I have the list. And I haven't gotten around to adding all the items that we've discussed, but I will, and then
Wait, what list?
the list of like long-term,
Okay.
or like.
Well, we wanna do
Things we
this,
wanted
we
to
do.
talk about over time, right, yeah.
Priorities, and so maybe once I add, all the items that we mentioned in the minutes that we just approved, at some point I will, we said we would keep it kind of as a working document, so.
And I'm sure things will get added
Yes, and hopefully taken
and
off.
taken off as we deal with them.
Yeah.
Hopefully taken off, Justin, you're so helpful.
Well, you probably add as you take off, so.
I know,
Don't get too worked up.
it's like the to-do list, it never actually gets shorter, it just changes.
And then, one of the only real changes I made here was just with the community center. Just clarifying that where they can present a long-term plan for the purpose of the variance process, but it's not agreed to by the select board. It was-
That's right.
So I move to approve May 30th, 23 minutes,
I second,
and we'll vote yes,
yes.
so that those minutes are approved.
Is there one session we're supposed to attend?
You pick which one will work.
Yeah.
Okay, just show up, kind of, yeah, just show up, kind of thing?
I let her know which one you're coming.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Great, I figured.
Sorry, I'll have to reprint that view list.
Because-
One initial thing. Community center.
Yeah, either or. You see that?
Yeah, I saw it yesterday when I was in yesterday.
So what do you think? Do you think our August first select board meeting will be over in time by 10:30 to attend the anti-discrimination and harassment meeting?
I did not put two and two together, that was the same day.
Yeah, so when we booked this before.
Yeah.
there's
Oh, I'm
two
sure.
people.
But I mean, I think we could just say to ourselves, we're going to have a,
Sure.
well, it's an hour
Or
and a
we
half,
could-
it's not
well,
really
we could-
short.
We could play it by ear, and
So what's the option, 10:30 that first?
10:30 noon or 1 to 2:30.
we could play it by ear, and maybe that
10:30.
we might be able to skip, because we're all,
What's that?
we could play it by ear, and maybe that's a week that we don't meet
Oh,
as a select board,
right.
because we're there. What day of the week is that?
Tuesday.
Of course, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, we're gonna schedule starting July, it's gonna be Tuesdays and Fridays.
Oh, payroll.
Now it's turning question?
What time?
That
Hour.
Wait, hour and a half.
Yeah, 10:30 to 12. There was something else in here, did she get you in it, or do you still have it?
No,
Still
that
have it,
one?
right, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, wages are so competitive now. Like, it's hard to believe.
What's
Oh,
that?
wages are so competitive.
Yeah, she told me that she was gonna go somewhere and she could do that, it's like $5 or $50.
It wouldn't shock me.
One
Especially on that kind of thing.
One thing that I just thought of as unanticipated business was that someone hit
Yeah,
someone
that's
hit telephone pole,
Yeah, right there too.
Sheringham Road.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we could talk about it next week if people want. I mean, my thought is that people should try to not hit telephone poles.
So I talked with the fire chief, the director of operations, and the police chief about all of it, and suggestions that were in the 20 various emails, none of which they like.
Yeah.
They believe there's already at the corner sign there.
I think there, if not,
They're-
and there's like a stop ahead
I think so, yes.
Which way was the person?
It's coming,
down.
right, the house,
Towards
by
the-
the back of the church there.
Towards the intersection,
Yeah.
not from 23.
Jim was maybe agreeable to those little signs, like I was telling you, the little arrow signs.
Orange arrow signs that they sometimes have on a steep turn.
Yes, but what about the driveways? Or maybe just on the telephone pole itself?
Maybe, oh, why do you think it's gonna?
Or talking about like on the corner on 23 where you put like 5 or on Sandus Road where you put 5 or 6 of them?
So that people know it's a sharp corner.
I have to admit that I pay more attention to, I don't know about generally, but when I see those, that means to me, this is a serious turn, pay attention, like, and because, especially even at night, you'll hit one and then another and then another, like, it makes it
Well-
much more.
It would be, and it is like on 23 where that's what, a 40 or 35 or 40? Like 35. But when you're about to come to a stop, you should only be going 15 anyway.
And you know,
Especially going downhill.
the thing that gets me is that the majority of people that are doing stupid stuff use the road all the time, like, how do you not know that you're gonna have to stop?
So, I don't know. Someone said it's been hit 4 times, is that?
That's what it said, my wife said on the Google.
Is that
page, it said
verifiable?
that-
I don't,
The chief maybe, but they didn't seem to believe that there had been that many accidents.
I don't believe it either, I don't remember saying one in the 20 years I've been here, this is the first.
And there may have been other factors that influenced this accident.
So, well, we can, if anyone has, I mean, we should probably just ask Brian.
We can get them back if
We-
you want, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not that worked up about it. I think because there's a stop ahead sign, people should know that they need to slow down and pay attention.
I think the reality comes at some point that if people are impaired enough that they're not paying attention to road signs, it doesn't matter how many road signs you put up there,
That's right.
they're not gonna pay attention to the roads.
Just more thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly.
Or cloud and snow. I don't know.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
Second motion.
vote on the
Oh,
motion.
are we meeting next week?
What's
Yes,
next week?
you have an appointment at 6 o'clock. With Courtney Morehouse is coming in to give an update on Route 20 recall work and.
That's how I did it. It's on your
I
list.
think it was the following week that Frank said he was gonna zoom in, and
Yeah.
I'm traveling that Tuesday, the 20th.
So maybe
And
schedule.
I could be at the meeting.
Well,
But there are 2 things on there that you could move, but I
On
have
the
the
20th.
annual reappointments on there on the 20th. And reviewing the finance committee interested parties, because your deadline was the 16th, so.
Right. I hate to do that with 2 of them remote. That seems a little bit bad.
Well, I won't be remote.
No.
I won't be remote, I could be here.
You could be here, okay,
So why don't we plan on meeting on the 20th? And
okay.
then if anything,
I mean, I'll be here, so like, it's fine by me, I just.
Yeah.
I just
oh,
wanted
I'll
to
be
have
here
it
too,
laid
I
out.
just
Right, yeah.
thought he was remote. I was
I'll be
traveling.
remote.
So,
My kids getting married.
Yeah.
So,
I thought you liked it.
I do like it, but it's been going on for a year. And
The difference between the dad and the mom. Does Margie feel the same way?
I think so.
alright, we will vote on the motion to adjourn. I will vote yes.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned at 10:06 a.m. Yes.
So I do that training in the mass